The first thing Emily noticed when she walked into the restaurant was the smell of butter and garlic hanging in the air, so thick it almost felt expensive to breathe. Crystal chandeliers glowed above white marble tables. Servers in black suits floated across the room, balancing silver trays stacked with lobster tails, oysters, and champagne bottles worth more than her monthly electric bill. She paused near the entrance, smoothing her navy blue dress nervously. This place was impossible to afford casually, which was why she was confused her mother had chosen it, Emily. Her mother shouted dramatically from across the restaurant, waving both hands like she hadn't seen her daughter in years instead of 3 weeks. Heads turned, Emily forced a smile and walked toward the massive table near the windows overlooking the harbor. Her entire family was there already, her parents, her older brother Jason, his wife Vanessa, 2 cousins, and even Uncle Rick, who only appeared when free food existed. "You made it," Jason said, standing to hug her. "Big corporate boss finally had time for us little people." Emily laughed weakly. Traffic was awful. Vanessa tilted her wine glass. "Well, now you can relax. Tonight is about family." Emily sat down slowly, still confused. 3 days earlier, her mother had called crying, saying the family wanted to celebrate Emily's recent promotion at the marketing firm she'd worked at for almost 10 years. "You've sacrificed so much for this family," her mother had said emotionally. "Let us do something nice for once." That sentence alone should have warned her. Because in Emily's 32 years of life, her family had never once done something nice without attaching invisible strings to it. Still, she wanted to believe this dinner was different. Wanted to believe maybe all those years helping everyone had finally meant something. A waiter approached immediately. "Would your table like to begin with appetizers?" Before Emily could even open the menu, Jason grinned. "We'll take 2 seafood towers." Emily blinked. Each tower cost nearly $400. Vanessa pointed at another item casually. "And the caviar sampler." Uo, her cousin Melissa, added, "Get the lobster dip too." Her father chuckled proudly. "Tonight we celebrate our successful daughter." Everyone raised glasses. Emily smiled nervously while calculating numbers in her head. Maybe her parents had saved for this. Maybe Jason was paying. Maybe, and bring your best champagne. Vanessa interrupted. "Not the cheap one." Emily slowly lowered her menu. Something felt wrong, very wrong. As the night continued, the orders became more ridiculous. Alaskan king crab, imported oysters, rare wine bottles, lobster pasta covered in edible gold flakes. At one point, Jason ordered a seafood platter, so large 2 waiters carried it together. Emily barely touched her food. Instead, she watched her family carefully. Nobody discussed prices. Nobody hesitated ordering extras. Nobody even pretended to care about cost. Her mother leaned closer halfway through dinner. "You know," she said softly, "family is all we really have in life." Emily nodded cautiously. "You've always been the strong one," her mother continued. "Not everyone gets blessed with your success." There it was. That familiar pressure wrapped inside fake affection. Emily suddenly remembered all the small loans over the years. Jason's overdue rent, her parents' mortgage payments, Vanessa's supposed hospital bills. Thousands and thousands of dollars she'd given without question, because family helps family. And somehow they always needed more. "You okay?" Jason asked, noticing her silence. "Yeah," Emily said quickly. "Just tired." Vanessa laughed. "Don't worry. One expensive dinner won't bankrupt you." The table erupted in laughter. Emily's stomach tightened. "Not us, you." The waiter returned carrying a leather check folder and placed it directly beside Emily. Not in the middle, not near her father, directly beside her plate. Silence spread across the table almost instantly. Emily stared at the folder without touching it. Then she looked up slowly. Her mother smiled sweetly. "You're paying, right?" Emily actually thought she misheard her. "What?" Jason leaned back casually. "Come on, Em, you make more money than all of us combined." Vanessa sipped champagne. "Besides, this dinner was your celebration." her father nodded. It would mean a lot to the family. Emily opened the folder with trembling fingers. $4, 186. 73, her chest tightened so hard she struggled to breathe. "You invited me," she whispered. Her mother's expression instantly changed from sweet to offended. "And now you're counting pennies with family." "Mom, $4,000 isn't pennies." Jason scoffed loudly. Unbelievable. "You knew this place was expensive," Emily said. Vanessa crossed her arms. "Honestly, Emily, you're embarrassing us right now." Embarrassing them, Emily looked around the table. Nobody offered to split the bill. Nobody looked surprised, because this had been planned from the beginning. The realization hit her like ice water. This wasn't a celebration. It was an ambush. You seriously can't pay one dinner. Melissa asked loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. Emily felt heat rush into her face. Then she noticed something else. Jason's phone, propped carefully against a water glass. "Camera recording." Her heart dropped. "He'd been filming the entire time. You recorded this," she asked quietly. Jason didn't even look guilty. People should know how selfish rich people become. For a moment, Emily just sat there staring at the people she had loved her entire life. The people she'd exhausted herself helping, and suddenly she understood something painful. They weren't treating her like family. They were treating her like a wallet. Emily slowly closed the check folder and stood up. "No," she said calmly. The table froze. "I'm not paying for this." The silence after Emily refused to pay lasted only 2 seconds before the explosion began. "You're unbelievable." Her mother snapped loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. Jason shoved his chair backward aggressively. "After everything this family's done for you," Emily almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Everything this family had done for her. Her hands trembled as she grabbed her purse from the chair. "For me," she repeated quietly. Vanessa rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh great, here comes the victim act." The waiter stood awkwardly near by holding the payment machine, clearly regretting every life decision that brought him to their table tonight. Emily reached into her wallet and placed $300 on the table beside her untouched lobster plate. "There," she said calmly, "that covers my meal." Her father's face turned red instantly. "You don't walk out on family." "I'm not walking out on family," Emily replied, her voice cracking slightly. "I'm walking out on people trying to use me." Gasps echoed around the table like she'd committed some terrible crime. Jason grabbed his phone immediately. "Keep talking," he muttered. "Everybody should hear this." Emily stared at him in disbelief. "You're seriously recording me?" "You embarrassed Mom." "No," Emily whispered painfully. "You planned this." For a second, nobody denied it. That silence hurt more than any insult could. Emily looked around the table slowly, realizing something she should have understood years ago. Every single person sitting there had taken something from her. Money, time, energy, hope. And somehow she was still the selfish one the moment she stopped giving. She walked out before the tears could fall. The cold night air hit her hard outside the restaurant. Harbor lights reflected across dark water, while expensive cars rolled past like nothing had happened. But something inside Emily had cracked permanently. Her phone buzzed before she even reached her car. "Mom, I hope you're proud of yourself." Then another. "Jason, you humiliated the family over money." Then another. "Vanessa, honestly disgusting behavior." Emily laughed bitterly through tears. "Money. Over the years, she'd given them enough money to buy a small house." And suddenly, memories began replaying one after another during the drive home. Jason crying 6 years earlier because he was about to be evicted. Emily had emptied her savings account to help him. 3 months later, he bought a jet ski. Her mother calling at midnight claiming they'd lose the house without urgent mortgage payments. Emily worked overtime for nearly a year, helping them catch up. Later, she discovered her parents had still gone on vacation during that same period. Vanessa sobbing about medical debt after her surgery. Emily paid nearly $8,000 without hesitation. 2 weeks later, Vanessa posted photos online carrying a brand new designer handbag. At the time, Emily ignored the uncomfortable feeling in her stomach because she wanted to believe family meant loyalty. Now she realized family had simply become the easiest way to manipulate her. When she reached her apartment, she threw her heels across the room and collapsed onto the couch exhausted. Her phone continued vibrating endlessly. Cousins, aunts, relatives she barely spoke to. Apparently the story was already spreading. Emily opened social media and immediately froze. Jason had uploaded a video from the restaurant. The caption read, "Imagine making 6 figures and refusing to help your own family pay for dinner." Thousands of views already, comments flooded underneath. Selfish, greedy, rich people are heartless. Emily felt sick. He had edited out the expensive orders, edited out the setup, edited out everything except her refusing to pay. Tears blurred her vision. Then her phone rang again. This time it was someone she hadn't spoken to in months. Nathan, her ex-fiancé. Emily hesitated before answering. "Hello." Nathan sighed heavily. "I just saw the video." Humiliation burned through her instantly. "I don't want to talk about it." "I do," he said gently, "because I warned you this would happen." Emily closed her eyes. And he had. For years, Nathan told her her family treated her like an emergency credit card instead of a daughter. Back then, she defended them every time. "They love me," she'd insisted. Now even she couldn't pretend anymore. "You know the worst part," Emily whispered. "I actually thought tonight was real." Nathan was quiet for a moment. "Emily, people who love you don't humiliate you for setting boundaries." That sentence broke something inside her completely. Because suddenly she realized she couldn't remember the last time her family asked how she was doing without needing something afterward. The last time they celebrated her without expecting payment. The last time she felt loved instead of useful. Nathan spoke again carefully. "You kept every receipt, didn't you?" Emily looked toward the hallway closet instinctively. Boxes, folders, years of bank transfers, loan confirmations, payment records, and text messages. She had saved everything. Not intentionally for revenge, just because some part of her always feared this day would come. "Yes," she admitted softly. Nathan's voice hardened slightly. "Good, because if they want to publicly shame you, maybe it's time people learned the full story." Emily wiped her tears slowly. For the first time all night, her breathing steadied. Maybe she wasn't powerless. Maybe years of silence had only protected the wrong people. She looked again at Jason's viral video, at strangers calling her selfish, at family members pretending she abandoned them. And deep beneath the heartbreak, something cold and dangerous finally began to grow. Not rage, not hatred. Clarity. Her family thought the dinner was the end of the story. They had no idea it was only the beginning. 3 weeks after the restaurant disaster, Emily sent a message to the entire family group chat. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. Maybe we all handled things badly. I want to make peace. Dinner at Lakeshore Manor this Saturday." "My treat." The responses came instantly. Her mother. "I knew you'd come to your senses, Jason. Good. Family should stick together." Vanessa. "Can't wait." Red. Emily stared at the screen with a slow, emotionless smile. None of them apologized. Not one, which made what she was about to do even easier. Saturday evening arrived warm and golden. Lakeshore Manor glowed beside the water like something from a wedding magazine. White lights hanging from trees, soft piano music drifting through the air, servers carrying silver trays beneath. Crystal chandeliers. Emily arrived first wearing a simple black dress and diamond earrings her grandmother once left her. Not because she wanted to impress anyone, because tonight was a funeral for the version of herself that kept begging toxic people to love her. One by one, the family arrived. Her mother wore an expensive silk gown Emily had unknowingly paid for years earlier. Jason stepped out in a designer suit, pretending he wasn't drowning in debt. Vanessa carried a luxury handbag that probably cost more than most people's rent. And every single one of them walked in smiling like they'd already won. "There's our girl," her father announced loudly. Emily hugged him politely. Jason grinned. Knew you wouldn't stay mad forever. Emily simply smiled. If only he knew. Dinner began beautifully. Steaks, seafood, wine, desserts covered in edible flowers. This time Emily encouraged every expensive order. Get whatever you want, she said warmly. Vanessa nearly glowed with satisfaction. I told Jason you'd come around. Emily lifted her wine glass calmly. To family, everyone cheered. Halfway through dinner, Emily stood slowly. I actually prepared something tonight, she announced. A little family presentation. Awa, her mother said emotionally. See, this is the Emily I raised. Emily almost choked on the irony. A large projector screen lowered behind her as lights dimmed softly. At first, the slideshow looked innocent. Old family Christmas photos, birthday parties, vacation memories, Jason and Emily as children laughing on a beach. Her mother dabbed tears from her eyes. Vanessa whispered dramatically, "This is beautiful." Then the screen changed. A bank transfer receipt appeared. $12,400, rent assistance for Jason. The smiles faded slightly. Then another image. $8,200, medical payment for Vanessa. Another. $31,000, mortgage payments for parents. Silence spread slowly across the room. Jason straightened uncomfortably. Emily, what is this? She ignored him. The slideshow continued. Text messages filled the screen. Mom, we'll lose the house if you don't help. Jason, I swear I'll pay you back. Vanessa, you're literally saving our lives. Then another slide appeared, a photo of Jason's brand. New truck purchased 2 months after Emily rescued him financially. Another showing Vanessa posing with designer bags after claiming crushing medical debt. Whispers started around the room. Relatives exchanged uncomfortable looks. Emily finally spoke. For 15 years, she said calmly, I believed helping family meant unconditional love. Nobody moved. So I gave every time without hesitation. Another slide appeared, a total number in giant white letters. Total money given to family, $287. 430 gasps erupted across the room. Her mother stood suddenly. Turn this off right now. Emily clicked another button. The screen changed again. This time it played the full unedited restaurant footage Jason tried hiding. The expensive orders, the jokes about Emily paying, Vanessa laughing, Jason setting up the phone camera beforehand. Her mother whispering, don't worry, she'll never say no in public. The room went dead silent. Jason's face lost all color. You recorded us, he snapped. Emily looked directly at him. You taught me the importance of recording things. Several relatives slowly turned toward Jason with expressions of disgust. Uncle Rick muttered, You set her up. Vanessa grabbed Jason's arm frantically. Say something, but Emily wasn't finished. There's one more thing. The projector displayed a scanned contract. Her father frowned immediately. What is that? Emily folded her hands calmly. 7 years ago, when I paid off your mortgage, the lawyer advised me to protect the investment legally. Her mother's expression slowly crumbled. No, you signed partial ownership papers. Emily continued softly. You never bothered reading them. Jason stood abruptly. This isn't funny, I agree. Emily clicked the final slide. Property sold, closing date Monday. Chaos exploded instantly. You sold our house, her mother screamed. You can't do that. Jason shouted. Yes, Emily replied quietly. I can. Her father looked physically ill. Emily felt her heart ache seeing him like that, but not enough to stop. Not after years of humiliation. Not after being treated like a walking bank account. The sale covers every unpaid debt owed to me, she said firmly. The remaining balance will be transferred to you after closing. Vanessa stared at her in horror. You planned this entire dinner. Emily looked around the silent room, at the people who only valued her generosity when it benefited them. Then she smiled sadly. No, she said. You planned it 3 weeks ago at the Lobster dinner. And for the first time in her life, Emily walked away while her family sat speechless behind her. The morning after the dinner at Lakeshore Manor, Emily turned off her phone and drove 3 hours north along the coast with the windows down and silence filling the car. For the first time in years, nobody was calling her for money. Nobody was crying about emergencies. Nobody was demanding pieces of her life like she owed them oxygen. The peace felt unfamiliar, almost guilty, but mostly freeing. The beach town of Harbor Cove welcomed her with salty air, small fishing boats, and quiet streets lined with flower boxes. Emily rented a tiny apartment above an old bookstore and spent the next few weeks disappearing from the chaos completely. Still, news from home found her eventually. Jason and Vanessa were fighting constantly after the house sale exposed their debts publicly. The luxury truck was repossessed 2 months later. Several relatives who once defended him suddenly stopped answering his calls once he started asking them for financial help. Funny how quickly loyalty disappeared when money did. Her parents moved into a smaller townhouse outside the city. According to Aunt Carol, her mother cried almost daily after realizing how badly things had spiraled. But Emily didn't rush back. She had spent most of her life rescuing people who happily watched her drown. Now she wanted to learn how to save herself instead. One rainy afternoon, Emily sat inside a small waterfront cafe reading job listings when Aunt Carol walked through the door carrying 2 dripping umbrellas. "There you are," Carol said warmly. Emily stood immediately and hugged her tightly. Unlike the rest of the family, Aunt Carol had defended Emily from the beginning. At the revenge dinner, she'd been the only person who looked heartbroken instead of angry. "I brought muffins," Carol announced proudly, sliding into the booth. Emily laughed softly. "You always bring food, and you always forget to eat when stressed." For a while they simply talked. No manipulation, no guilt, no hidden agenda, just conversation, and Emily realized how rare that felt. "You know," Carol said carefully, stirring her tea, "your grandmother used to say family isn't who shares your blood, it's who protects your peace." Emily looked down quietly. "I think I spent years buying love," she admitted. Carol reached across the table and squeezed her hand gently. "No, sweetheart, you were trying to earn the kind of love you should have been given freely." That sentence stayed with Emily for days afterward. A month later, she made a decision that shocked everyone, including herself. Instead of returning to corporate marketing, Emily used part of her savings to lease an empty restaurant near the harbor. A small, cozy place overlooking the water. Nothing flashy, nothing luxurious, just warm lights, fresh seafood, homemade bread, and honest food made with care. Aunt Carol became her business partner immediately. "You cook," Carol declared proudly. "I'll boss everyone around." And for the first time in years, Emily felt genuinely happy. The restaurant slowly became popular throughout Harbor Cove. Tourists loved the peaceful atmosphere, and locals adored Carol, who treated every customer like family, whether they deserved it or not. Emily named the restaurant Second Tide, because life, she realized, sometimes gave people another chance after the storm. Then, one evening during heavy rain, the front door opened quietly. Emily looked up from behind the counter and froze. Her mother stood there alone, no designer clothes, no dramatic makeup, no anger. She looked smaller somehow. Older, tired, Carol silently disappeared into the kitchen. Emily walked slowly toward the table, where her mother sat twisting trembling hands together. For several seconds neither spoke. Finally her mother whispered, "I almost turned around 3 times before coming in." Emily remained silent. Tears filled her mother's eyes. "I keep replaying everything," she admitted shakily. "That restaurant, the way we treated you all those years." Emily's chest tightened painfully. Not because she hated her mother, because part of her never stopped loving her. "I thought if you had more," her mother whispered, "then asking for help wasn't hurting you. It wasn't help anymore." Emily said softly, "It became entitlement." Her mother nodded slowly while crying, "I know that now." The rain tapped gently against the windows between them. Then her mother finally said the words Emily had waited years to hear. "I'm sorry." Not defensive, not manipulative, Real Emily closed her eyes briefly. Forgiveness came easier than she expected, but trust was different. "I forgive you," Emily said quietly. Her mother broke into tears completely. "But things can't go back to how they were." Her mother nodded again. "I understand," and surprisingly she seemed to. That night after closing, Emily prepared a simple lobster dinner for her exhausted staff. Everyone crowded around two pushed-together tables, laughing loudly, while Carol argued with the dishwasher about football scores. No expensive wine, no manipulation, no one expecting someone else to pay. Just people enjoying a meal together honestly. Emily looked around the room and smiled softly. For years she thought family meant sacrifice. But sitting there beside people who valued her heart instead of her wallet, she finally understood the truth. Real family never keeps score.